Hey guys, finished watching Black Lightning, Season 1, Episode 6, 3-7, The Book of Thunder. Wow, what an episode. This was a great episode. So much stuff going on. I got all kinds of different notes here to get into. Let's jump into it. Let's jump into the first ones. Here, the first one is pretty cool at the beginning. Gammy ends up finding, we pick up right where we left in Episode 5, when we had, what's his face? I can't think of the guy's name. Where did they have his name? Joey Toledo, actually, in Black Lightning, were fighting in the last episode, and then Gamby finds him right in the alley, and it really was cool the way they did it. It looked like there was cops kind of so close, and at first point when a car pulled up, I was like, is that him? Is that Gamby, or is that a cop? Who knows? It's really going to be cool to play with that. So it really was interesting with that. Really was nice with that, and the way things are building up. And we only have 13 episodes for the show, so we're just about almost halfway-ish within the show. So it could have been early enough for them to like maybe he gets taken in by the police. We'll have to wait and see how that would play out. What would he do with all that? So it was cool with that. Gamby finds him right away. And then we find out that Lynn ends up blowing up after, when she's called to help him again. She kind of gets too much and it blows up in her face, and she kind of blows up at him, which I guess in her defense, it's pretty much all on, it all is on Jefferson. A little bit is on her. She realizes that later on. And then we find out Anissa went out to paint she painted a statue and got in trouble for it. You heard a bunch of people used water guns to spray paint a statue. Which was interesting, it was okay. Kind of her thing. And then Lynn Lynn assistant ends up seeing her because at the beginning when Lynn was fixing up Jefferson from the beginning of the episode, she takes brain scans of his, or she finds brain scans of his during his suit. So I guess his suit is able to give him an X-ray. It doesn't make sense to me, but maybe that he's able to do that. Which again, we need that background on Gamby to find out how does he make this technology, and why is he not? All this technology is super advanced, like being able to do a brain scan or and all that from a little thing the size of a helmet. That thing could revolutionize medical technology. Why doesn't he sell that? Why doesn't he make money off of that? Why not? I mean, and we still haven't seen him. How is he living on the in this so-called tailor's place, where as a tailor, when he never does anything, we never see him actually get any customers, or rarely see him even working. He's always doing other stuff with Black Lightning, so I guess he must have some secret money somewhere that he got from something involving Tobias Wells and all that stuff, his criminal past. So yeah, we see that Lynn's assistant, she ends up pulling out the brain scan of Black Lightning, and then the brain scan of someone on Green Light, and then they're comparing the two while her assistant goes out to get coffee. But then her assistant sees it, so it's unclear whether or not I guess now that I'm thinking about it, the assistant maybe worked for Lady Eve, or Tobias Wells or type thing, and probably Lady Eve, and that's when she was notified of that. I don't know. It would have been nice to see that. Maybe see the guy on the phone. I mean, we saw him on the phone, but who was he calling? It wasn't clear. What he was doing or who he was involved with. So it would have been clear just to get a little bit more clarity on that one. But otherwise, it was okay. We find out Black Lightning's plan is to kill Tobias Wells, and obviously that's what he's been wanting to do. He wants to kill the person who killed his father, and then later on we even we'll get into it later when we see it, and then Gamby tries to stop him by goes to Lynn to try and stop him, to try and get her to help, but she doesn't want to have anything to do with it. She's like, this is your own stuff, I'm not getting involved. And then Nisa ends up bringing her findings that she found about her grandfather on her father's side, Jefferson's Pierce grandfather, and finding out about stuff. She brings the notes to her mother type thing. And that's pretty interesting where that was going. And I like the way things were going in this episode. Things were building up. It's close to, Anissa just kind of telling her mother. And it was nothing really it wasn't set up or foreshadowed anything. It just kind of happened in this episode. She just lost it and then decided to tell her mother in this episode. And then things kind of snowballed from there. And I love the way that happened. There was no setup for it. It was I didn't see it coming. It was really great the way things happened with that. And then, Jennifer wants to... And we find out that Jennifer actually wants to leave Khalil and all that stuff. And then, so that story was kind of interesting with that, especially the way things are going with Khalil and the way things end with him. It was kind of interesting to see, but still didn't really progress anywhere. A little bit progressed with that relationship, but didn't really move to anywhere too much. It would be cool to see where that goes next week's episode. So she wants to leave Khalil, but she feels bad and all that stuff. And we see Jefferson. Jefferson finds out online that Jennifer's been bullying, but that really doesn't really go and it doesn't really do it anywhere other than she ended up talking with him, before they end up talking about different stuff and where they talk about her relationship with Cleo and all that stuff. But the bullying thing doesn't really go anywhere because she says that all her other friends just kind of jumped on the bullier and you kind of defended her type of thing. So I don't know where they were going with that, but I guess it was an opportunity to make Jefferson and his daughter kind of talk so that they can talk about Khalil before she went and talked to him later on. And then they find out that she finds out that Khalil ends up blaming her because he wouldn't have been at the rally if it wouldn't have been for her. She talked him into it and all that stuff, and which is interesting to see where that goes, especially where that things are going to end. I feel like they're obviously setting this up for Khalil. He's probably going to die by the end of this episode, by the end of this season, so that she's not stuck. She doesn't have to make Anissa be the bad, Jennifer be the bad person, which I think is interesting with this because the stories where you have someone like this, who loses everything, loses his legs, and everything kind of just crumbles beneath him. But the idea of Jennifer wanting to leave and doing that, I mean, it would be cool to play with it being a more realistic scenario because, yes, it's possible seeing him go down this dark side and stuff, and that gives her a reason out of it, but it would be cool to play the other way around where, more realistically in a real life situation, I feel like a young teenager, her boyfriend, gets crippled, probably would leave him, and it probably wouldn't be for good reasons. And I think playing with that would be a little bit more realistic than playing with the fact that he goes dark and becomes a criminal and all that stuff. I think that's kind of not cliche, but I mean, I guess just done a few times. I think it'd be different, making Anissa more the bad guy in this situation with the relationship, and just kind of being like, I can't do this, and just leaving. I think that would be the more interesting and more realistic storyline I would have gone with. This way, they're kind of giving Jennifer an out when she finds out that he's dealing with Tobias Wells and all that stuff, and he's going to be doing bad stuff, or if he just dies in the middle of it, type of thing. So I really don't see it feels a bit kind of predictable where they're going with that storyline with Jennifer and Khalil kind of giving her an out for it, and to a reason to leave him and not stick around type thing. So I don't know, it would be cool to play with that. It would have been cool to play and maybe have her kind of leave just because she doesn't want to hang out with someone who's in a wheelchair all the time. And I think that seems like a little more better storyline. And then later on in a few seasons, or next season or whatever, next time she meets someone else, she could learn from her mistakes and learn how to not being like that. I think that could be quite interesting to do this. Whereas at this point, he lashed out at her, he blamed her for nothing. It's all on him right now. It's all his fault for breaking up the relationship, even though she didn't want to. She had a bit of doubts, but she never told him, never said anything, was going to stick it out, and now it's all on him. So I just think it would have been better to put a little bit more blame on her, make the relationship a little bit more realistic than this would have gone the way it went here. Then we find out, Nissa ends up putting on her prototype costume and walks into the crowd, ends up, stomping and crushing the tower, which I don't get. No one recognized her. I mean, it was kind of dark out, but it was still kind of bright. Everyone had candles. Everyone was staring, was just standing there. It wasn't, a busy place. Everyone could clearly see her. I mean, she just has paint on her eyes, even brighter paint than darkening her eyes type thing. It was just kind of silly. She needs to get goggles. I can't wait for her to get her Gambi's costume that Gambi's probably going to make her, because it was just kind of like, how did no one recognize her? I mean, a lot of people saw her at the rally. A lot of people know her as a teacher. Don't know if any of her students were there. You don't know. People know her as, people seem to know Jefferson a lot throughout the community, throughout all of Freeland. So how come people don't recognize his daughter, his most successful daughter, so far his oldest daughter? I really didn't get that, how no one just recognized her. It was one thing for when she went to, when she went to the storage unit type thing. Someone was just watching over from a camera type thing. It's really not there, but people were literally kind of a foot away from her and couldn't recognize who she was or even identify her, type of thing. I just found that kind of weird for that. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe there's still no fallout from it. Maybe the fallout from that could be in next week's episode, because she literally just went from that to go seeing her mother, and then meeting at Black Lightning and all that stuff. So there could be, it's only been at the end of this episode, maybe it's only been 3 or 4 hours since she actually kind of crushed that and broke the statue. Maybe the fallout of that will happen in next week's episode. We'll have to wait and see, if someone recognized her or something like that. It really is kind of interesting to see where things go with that. But clearly she's going to have to get a whole new costume because of those people who recognized her. At least if they didn't recognize her as Anissa Pierce, maybe they recognized her. They'll obviously know who she looks like just based on this costume. So to kind of rebrand it, maybe get a better costume, people will assume, it's the same person, but there won't be any proof that there is the same person, especially if she's, in the photos looks like she has her hair tied back and not, completely different, somewhat different look to it. So it's really going to be cool to see that. Hopefully next episode we can get that. Anissa shows her mom her powers, and Lynn kind of just, Lynn wants, Anissa ends up calling her mother to go show her powers, and Lynn gets a call from Gamby, and it was interesting the way they played with that, because it kind of seemed like, to me, like, oh, is she going to drop everything and not be there when Anissa shows up, or does she end up, how is she going to do this, but she's able to talk to get to Jefferson on the phone, during the stuff, while he's about to kill Tobias. And that's when we get the flashback to Jefferson as a kid watching the death of his father, but it doesn't look like, we don't see no Gamby there. And in the comics, and they're heavily teasing it in this episode with Gamby involved with Lady Eve and all this stuff, that he was involved with the death of Jefferson's father. I can't think of his name, but involved with the death of his father. So it's interesting with that to see, obviously we're going to get another flashback where it looks like he was there, but it wasn't clear who did anything, it wasn't, it didn't look like Gamby was there. Where was Gamby? If we end up getting another flashback from Gamby's point of view where he was there, it doesn't look like there was any people that could be Gamby. And there was one guy who was a little bit kind of shadowed and stuff, but he didn't look like Gamby whatsoever. I don't know why they didn't have the Gamby actor, Gamby actually there in the flashback, have him in the shadows, have him wear a mask, whatever, something like that, and then have him have that go and do that or something. I don't know. Would have made more sense. Maybe have his back to Jefferson the whole time, and he assumed, and the way things go, maybe things kind of, Tobias says, calls him Joey Toledo or Joey, get the car around type thing, and it actually was. We get another side of the flashback where we find out Joey was just off camera too, just out of Jefferson's sight. So he thought Joey was the killer, but Joey was not. It was actually Gamby. I think it would have been cool to see that. But this way, it seems like if you take this flashback and the inevitable other flashback we're going to get when it gets revealed that Gamby killed his father, those flashbacks are not going to sync up and look the same, and that's the thing that's what kind of is going to bother me with this. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes, but it doesn't really look like it's going to be a lot to see from this angle, from what Jefferson saw and we've shown in this flashback. When Gamby reveals that, I am the one who killed your father, he's going to be like, no, I saw it, I saw everything happen, as bright as day, I saw it, clearly it wasn't you, I didn't see you there. I don't know, even those other guys beside Tobias Wells usually they also seemed a bit taller than Gamby would be, so that kind of throws everything off. So I don't know, it just seems a bit weird with that. Maybe they're not going to do the Gamby stuff, but they're making Gamby out to be very dark, if they're not going to do the whole him killing his father, and I don't know why they would go this path give him so much dark history and a path with Lady Eve, but not have him be the one to have killed Jefferson's father. I don't know why they would not do that at this point. So we'll have to wait and see where things go with that. And then Lynn, Lynn ends up calling Black Lightning. She ends up telling him that she's accepting Jefferson as Black Lightning. She's accepted that as a part of him, which is interesting. When she's done that, she kind of learns that Anissa, when she drops off the files, kind of tells her that that she's heard some of the fights and she didn't want to be the second one with her father Jefferson kind of saving the world and all that. And it was quite interesting the way that plays off, and leading up to the end of that was quite cool. And then we find out someone breaks into Lynn's lab, and Anissa is the first one to show up, and her mother immediately recognizes her when she does all this stuff and stops the bullets and becomes bulletproof and launches people. That was really cool. She can clearly see that it was her daughter. But then Black Lightning, obviously, when he heard Lynn on the phone and get attacked and stuff, he shows up just after, but goes rushing into there, doesn't recognize his daughter, attacks her from behind and type thing, and then they start attacking. And it was really cool fight between Black Lightning and Anissa, and it looked like she held up her own a little bit. At one point, I thought, oh my god, is she gonna, because he's a bit sick type thing, and he's having this stuff. He didn't have an attack or whatever, a panic attack or whatever, any of those things, those conditioned attacks that he's been having. But it almost looked like because of that Anissa was able to hold her own, almost like she was able to knock him down, throw him around, and she was actually holding her own until he just kind of went all out and just really blasted her, which knocked her out type thing real good. It looked like, I guess he was holding back a little bit because he could tell. I guess he could tell that she was a bit younger or something, or I'm not sure how much he knew or what he saw. Would be cool to get that. But obviously he's not gonna, he's just gonna take the blame type thing for doing this. So it's really gonna be fun to see what that fallout was, and it was really gonna be fun to see where they go and how they tease their two powers as they train later on. And then we find out that Jefferson finally sees his daughter, and he realizes it's her. Khalil, and we see Khalil in the car with Tobias Wales, continuing on that storyline. But again, I would like to see kind of that furthered, maybe a little bit more, so him do something with Tobias Wales rather than just kind of, oh, remember he's involved with Tobias Wales, that's it. Which is kind of a reminder. It wasn't really he didn't do anything with Tobias Wales yet. I would have liked to have seen that. Then Jefferson reveals himself to Anissa, and the episode ends like that. Great ending of the episode. Loved it. Next episode looks pretty cool with Anissa wanting to kind of be trained by Black Lightning. Obviously, he's probably not going to train her. He's not going to want to get his daughter involved in any of this. He doesn't want his daughter to get in trouble and getting hurt and stuff. So that's going to be probably the next issue for their training. Maybe at the end of it, he ends up finding out that his condition gets worse, and he finds out that he needs Anissa's help to be there, type of thing, since her powers are not killing her, whereas his powers are. Which is going to be interesting to see how they play with that, how the difference between her powers, she clearly doesn't need her suit to make powers, whereas he needs his suit for his powers. So how does that work? Is it anything to do with is it anything to do with the 9 kids that disappeared and his grandfather, or is it anything to do with the fact that Jefferson had powers and he had her, those powers were passed on in his genetics type thing, how it works, things like that, or a mixture of both, things like that from his grandfather and how things were going. I think that could be cool to do with that, and how, if Jefferson's powers are killing him now, at this point, or making him sick now, are they going to, or Anissa, and whenever Jennifer gets her powers later on, are they going to be, killing themselves too? Are they going to be detrimental powers to themselves at the same time? How that's going to play out, that's really going to be fun to see that. Then we see Tobias' sister. Sounds like she's making Tobias go after Lady Eve and starting out a war between that. So we'll have to wait and see where things go with that. But hopefully that doesn't... I feel like the just having Tobias and Lady Eve go at each other, is that going to just thin out the her type thing, and then there's going to be one person left for Black Lightning to go after? I think it would have been cool. It would be cooler if Tobias, or maybe Tobias or Lady Eve, one of those get taken out, and then you have everyone. You have a bigger army for Black Lightning to fight, a bigger bad guy, instead of doing the things that they do on the Netflix show where there's 2 different bad guys and one and then only one at the end for the superhero to take over. What if you had both together and a team of villains versus this guy? So you have 2 villains to go after. But we'll have to wait and see how that works. I could see maybe Lady Eve or Tobias, probably Tobias, killing just Lady Eve, taking over her whole organization. So now he has more power and more men, more guards, more money to go after and fight Black Lightning. I think that is really going to be cool to see where things go with that. And hopefully they can play that well, but I would hate for the two to just kind of like thin each other out, and it'd be too much of Lady Eve's. If he just destroys all of Lady Eve's organization, but doesn't take any of his men, kills all her men type of thing, and doesn't gain anything from it, just other than the fact that she's dead, doesn't really gain any more power and more men, more power to fight Black Lightning with, and it just kind of makes it kind of annoying just kind of thins out to her. Now he doesn't have to worry about, now Black Lightning only has to worry about Tobias Wales and not Lady Eve, whereas right now he has to worry about both of them type thing. So I don't know where things are going to go with that. It could be cool to see where things happen, but definitely going to be fun to see where things go. So I really like this episode. I can't wait to see where things go. Hopefully we get to see Anissa maybe get her new costume. I doubt we'll see it in next week's episode, but we can wait. Only hope to see it. Hopefully we get a few episodes with her in the costume. I can see her probably getting her costume maybe around episode 10, and then we have the 3 episodes of her in costume to kind of playing with that before the end of the season. I mean, they revealed it for a reason, so before the season even started, they revealed it for a reason, so she probably has a decent amount of episodes with the costume on, so we'll have to wait and see for that. So let me know what you think, guys, about this in the comments below. What do you think about it? Black Lightning Season 1, Episode 6, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes it's the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.